This is episode number 12, Be Positive and Confident in All You Do, with special guest Brian Underwood. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just wanted to say I really appreciate you being here, and I'm super excited about this new quarantine conversation series. If you want to catch these episodes happening live, where you often can ask real-time questions or maybe even get featured on the show, make sure we're connected on Instagram at Blake Mallon and on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page, as I'd love to see you there. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and enjoy the episode. Today, I get to bring on a super special guest that I know is going to add a lot of value. I don't know where the conversation is going to go. We're going to bounce around, but I know he's someone that is committed, guys, to that very mission. Matter of fact, I know because I've had a chance to see his personal mission written out, and he shared it with me along with many of us that are close to him. And it is to help people become the best version of themselves, no matter what we're going through. And now more than ever, I've seen his leadership go to a level that's inspiring. And we get a chance to get some casual time with him today to ask some questions, get some value, and talk about going through this time. So you guys, this is an individual that I had a chance to meet with a little over a year ago, was blown away more so by just how aligned we were on values, on philosophy, on vision of the industry that we were in, and not just where we came from, although we have a lot of crossover on our history, but really where we feel on it should go. And I'm proud to say that conversation over a year ago went deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where now I get to call him a business partner, a friend, and someone that we've united with now over the last 6 months, really to go do something better together, to go make an impact across the world. Bring a technology that him and his partners crack the code on to as many people as possible, and really create a movement that makes an impact and inspires people to become better. So I get to introduce you guys for the first time to my business partner, my friend, and to all of you guys, Brian Underwood. Brian, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Blake. That was a great introduction, man. I don't know if I've ever had that made me feel good. So thank you very much.
Hey, it's all true, man. That's a fast year from like our first dinner, right? To like charging the hill as partners. I appreciate it, man. I'm loving it.
I mean, listen, I think that if nothing else, like the world should have a different perspective. If we're paying attention today, I mean, we always know that time flies, but I think that just to have a perspective of how important time is. We never know what's going to happen in the future. It's not a guarantee. And just the whole human element and human spirit, going through this quarantine, going through the pandemic, going through all of the emotions. I think it's the first time, in our lifetime for sure, that the entire world is fighting the same fight. And I think that the perspective is that we just should be grateful for every moment that we have, and we should make the most of it. And, we have so many blessings that we should be counting. So I agree with you. It does seem like yesterday, and, how quickly, even if I wanted to come out there today, it would be a challenge. So how quickly we sometimes take for granted some of the freedoms that we've lived by. And so I know that my encouragement would be for all of us just to take advantage of every freaking moment that we're alive and live.
Live for life.
Hey, and speaking of taking advantage, who we got there? Who you got in the room?
Hello.
Tell them your name.
Brixton.
So we're quarantined, Blake. We have 7 kids in the house because we had a partner that was here in Orlando with us, and he has 4 daughters. And so they shut down the 4 seasons. So we're like, well, just bunk up, because we thought it would only be like a week or so. And so we have 7 kids, 5 dogs, and 4 adults. And so I think Brixton is tired of playing. They're all out by the pool right now, and Brixton's in here. He was writing on the whiteboard, and he's over here working with us. So
I love it. What's up, Brixton? Good to see you, brother. I've been following your basketball videos on Instagram. Got some skills. I love it. So quarantine in Florida, that is a full house for sure. So I'm obviously, for those of you guys following, I'm here in my place in in Los Angeles. And, I was going to say, man, having a 4-year-old and 2-year-old downstairs, my wife and I are getting stretched. To have 7 and dogs and families, I'm sure you're balancing a lot. Well, Brian, if you don't mind, I'm going to fire different questions. I don't know where the conversation will go. I think we're going to cover a lot of grounds. Maybe I'll bounce between personal, business, philosophical, we'll see where it goes. But I think maybe a good place to start. One of the things that I've noticed about you in the time we've been working together is you have had a lot of great mentors in your life, and you've not only had a lot of great mentors, you've done a great job of maybe learning from mentors, some amazing wisdom that you constantly share through your own social, right, through your own conversations. I'd just be curious, like, who would you consider some of the most influential mentor figures in your life to date?
Well, I mean, I would start with my dad being the first. I was very fortunate. I always say that I didn't know this growing up, because we all love our dads and
I love my daddy.
yes, you all. And so, but, I didn't realize that being loved and having support, and having someone tell you that, to believe in your dreams, to go for it. When you're younger, you don't have the awareness to know that that's an exception to the rule in the world. And, so I was very fortunate and blessed to have an incredible mother and father and a support system growing up. And they were great models of optimism and, going for your dreams and, doing good, I think, just a great barometer. And so I think that, that's kind of where my foundation started. And it's come up from just a lot of great coaches playing athletics growing up, to, great, business mentors, both good and bad, meaning, some really sharp people that I was around that I learned, okay, I don't want to do those things, but I learned a lot from them. And then others that, gave me a great model of what, is important. And so, so very, very, very blessed in that regards.
Yeah. And I've seen you, with your dad, obviously, when we're in the office in Kentucky, and, you can feel when he walks in the room, just your energy and focus shifts, and he's the priority. And you can see that connection, that connection has been strong, and you can see the influence he's had in your life. What's your favorite? I know I've heard you say a lot of nuggets or, points of wisdom you've gotten from your dad. What would you say maybe is the one that has impacted you the most? Not one that maybe you say the most, but what is the one thing you got from him that impacted you the most? It's
so funny you said that, because I started a channel on my Instagram, and I haven't kept it up very well, because you know me, and like I should have done social media. Like you and I talked about this back in 2007, 2008, like we should have been so aggressive on it. But I've never wanted to be like that guy. Right. Meaning at the time I thought it was cheesy to talk about yourself or to create your own platform. That was my own insecurities, by the way. And so I started this, and so I haven't built that muscle in a great way. I'm continuing. That's a process that I'm continuing to move forward on. But one of the channels that I want to do is what you just said, is living legacy. Because I think that social media is such an incredible platform. Like I would give anything to have all of those times captured with my dad and the things that he said to me and the experiences that we did, and my mom, right now. And I want you to think about that, Blake, because you have 2 little ones. Is right now, this is the first time in the history of the world that you have a living diary. Right. And so I think if nothing else, if we just would share insights and distinctions and learning lessons. So I have this whole thing called Living Legacy. And I said one the other day, I think I actually wrote it down. Hold on. I have my little handy dandy notebook here. Because I was like, I need to do that for the Living Legacy. Hold on. I'll tell you. Okay, well, here's one of the things that I said. Literally, I said it on a call right there. I wrote it down to remind myself, because if I don't, I lose it. But my dad used to always say, listen, you have to make, priorities are never in conflict, but you have to make sure that you give priority and you take care of the things that are taking care of you. So, in that regard, what he means is, like, if you get a good job and you have a job, Like that job is the most important thing in your
I
world.
take care of my daddy.
Yes, she does. It's not that money is the most important thing in life, right? That's people use that against, they use that as an excuse sometimes. But he said that because money's like oxygen. You have to have it to live. You have to have it to feed your family. You have to have it in sickness. And so he just said, listen, if you get a good job, Brian, you have to take care of your job. That is your number one priority because that's your livelihood, right? And he was an entrepreneur. He came from nothing. He built a CPA firm in the state of Kentucky that was one of the biggest wholly owned CPA firms at a time in the 80s where you couldn't go out and solicit business. And so as an entrepreneur, he just told me, he said, your business becomes your priority. You have to take care of your business because your business takes care of you. And then, you take care of the people that take care of you. Like that's your priority. So that's what I wrote down is take care of the things that take care of you. And there should never be a conflict in terms of where your priorities are. And so, I think that we're very fortunate today that, we have a business that we have to see that as a responsibility. We have to take care of it because not only is it taking care of us as an entrepreneur, it's taking care of a lot of other people too. And so that's one of the things he said to me. The thing that I probably say the most, that is the most embedded into me and that I'm sharing with these guys when we drop them off from school, is every day you drop me off for school, you say, be positive and confident in all you do. Be positive and confident in all you do. So he'd let me out and I'd get out. He said, all right, Tiger, be positive and confident in all you do. And it's just embedded in me. And I think that, it's something that everyone should hear, especially in a time like this where you have 16 million Americans that have filed for unemployment or unemployment insurance. You have millions more that haven't been able to file. You have the string of yarn that's been pulled on our economy. We don't know the ripple effect. There's people scared, and when we get scared, sometimes we tend to hide. We operate out of, flight instead of faith. And I just hope that everyone has the courage to take those two words to heart. And that is, be positive and confident. It doesn't mean that we're not saying that there's not something real going on, but living in optimism and being positive means that you have faith. You're certain of what you hope for, that it's going to work out okay. And just have the confidence in yourself that you are enough. And so it just reminds me of that because there's always times where I have that same fear. Now I'm programmed just like you are that, you snap out of it, but anyone that's ever been successful and they've come from nothing, or they've done it and they've put a lot of effort and energy into it, they have fought the same fights that others fight. They just keep going, or they learn skills to get rid of the fear. And so, that's one of the tools that I use is be positive and confident. All you do.
I love it. I'm seeing some chat box here and people are taking note. And, you and I both use the word faith a lot. And I know that's rooted in kind of who we are. What I also heard from kind of the first thing your dad gave to you is it's rooted in gratitude, right? So like gratitude, appreciation for what we do have and what does take care of us. And so often we're all guilty of slipping into what we don't have or what so-and-so has that we don't, or what we may lose, that we maybe lose sight of valuing what's right in front of us. And maybe one of the big blessings that comes out of this whole crisis, quarantine, is a reestablishment of values and focusing on appreciating what is important and what we do have. And when you were talking, I'll share this. I haven't shared this with anybody, but one of the things I'm doing right now with my son, Grayson, is a gratitude jar. So I can't say it's every day, but I would say every couple days we'll go in and we'll light a candle because he loves to blow out candles. So that's kind of our thing. And before he goes to bed, I'll light a candle. And he knows we're going to talk about something that he's grateful for the day. He's learning this concept, right? He's only 4. So he knows it as thank you
right.
for. And he'll write what he's great, or I'll write what he's grateful for. He'll attempt to write it and draw a picture, and then we put it in the jar and blow out a candle. And you guys, those are just little things that like we all can be doing right now to pay it forward to the people that we are around to grow. Brian, let me ask you this, because like one thing everybody says about you, like anybody that knows you well, they know that you're heart driven, right? You're a heart guy, you're heart first. And it's something that when you speak or you're around, like people feel like you actually care, like you genuinely care. I'm just curious where that came from. Like, is that Is that family values? Is that like just natural? That's you and you're just naturally kind of empathetic. I'm curious where the heart component that you lead with began.
I mean, I think I don't know. I guess I mean, listen, it's not always that way. When I say it's not always that way, I think a lot of times we get in our heads, and when we get in our heads, things become more complicated. And so I think that it's, all of our natural, I guess our natural gifts, we all have gifts, and all of our natural, gifts come from the heart, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that. It's the old philosophy, know thyself and be thyself. I just think a lot of times we just don't get to know ourselves, and we get in our heads and we start talking, or we start putting actions into the way that we think we should be, or the way that we think would be accepted, or what we think we have to do in order to be financially successful. And I've gone through a lot of those stages, and even if I'm speaking or talking, if I get up here too much, it doesn't come out like but if I speak from here, it does. So I think that value really comes from, again, the way that I grew up, just my mom and dad and the seeds that they planted in me. And I think, creating a competitive spirit. I was never a great athlete. I was a good athlete, but I was able to compete at a super high level because, my coaches instilled in me, along with my family and my dad, was, it's all about heart. And I think that today, if you get in touch with yourself and you see something that's magnificent, or you see something, have you ever watched a movie and it made you cry? It wasn't the talent in the movie, or it wasn't the talent of watching the Olympic person grunt it out and do a floor routine when they have a hurt ankle and they score a perfect 10 to win the gold medal. What touches you was the fact that someone literally endured. They overcame to become, because when we see something that's unbelievable and beautiful and awesome, and it touches us in our heart. And the reason why is that anything that's outstanding in the world, we recognize because there's a piece of us in that. But what that awesomeness is the heart. It's just like in today's world, if you're paying attention, the things that are touching us the most are the ones that we can relate to and we can feel, because I think we're all connected, and that's where we're all connected. I can't tell you it's a conscious thought. Like, it's not conscious. It's just, when we started Pruvit, the thing for me, and this, and I've been saying this a lot lately because I think it fits the time. I had someone that believed in me. They had faith in me when my confidence was rocked or shaken. And I've had a lot of ups and downs in business over 27 years. And, for me, the most important priority was to make sure, and this is what I fell in love with community-based marketing, this platform, is it gives the average person the ability to achieve above average. It gives the average person the ability to grow and to learn and to become aware and make distinctions. And it gives the average person a platform to contribute back to the world. It gives them also an avenue to create a peer group and to connect and love and connect with others. And I think that, my compromise when we did this was we have to develop a community first. And so, through the years in my 20s, I was the same person, but I was in my head thinking that if I did certain things, I was going to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And I made a lot of money in my 20s, and I lost a lot of money, but I didn't get it. Does that make sense? Like, I said the words, but they weren't congruent to, my heart and words weren't congruent, or they weren't aligned. And so one of the things, again, that my dad always told me is never forget where you came from. And I think we all have to stay grounded in our pursuit and our journey in life, because where we started and the activities that got us to where we are today, regardless of where we are, those activities and those experiences is what gives us the wisdom to give back to other people, to give them distinctions and awareness. And so I'm very fortunate to that. It's like, you have to see more in others than they sometimes see in themselves. As my dad was building his CPA practice, he used to say, I went after the underdog. I went after the guy that was just starting his business, because they might be small today, but it doesn't mean they're going to be small in 10 years. And I think that sometimes we forget that, And I think it's super important that people hear that, is that right now where you're at today, just like you said, is it's an awesome time to reevaluate your values. It's an awesome time to reevaluate and reassess where you want to be in 36 months, 48 months, 5 years, 10 years, what legacy you want to leave, because where we're sitting at in our present or our past, it doesn't equal our future. And so those are some of the things that just kind of always stay. That's just how I'm wired. And so I always try to go to that place before I ever communicate or speak to someone. And that's, I've learned that, because sometimes, as you know, I'm a competitor, I'm fiery, I'm a red personality. And situations when my back's against the wall, I don't have fight or flight, I fight. And so you have to train your awareness and your emotional intelligence to slow down and focus on what's really important. And I can tell you, the priority in the world today should be people. It should be community. And if you lead with that, everything else will fall in line. I truly believe that with all my heart.
I love it. I've had a chance to see that fiery personality a couple of times. I like that, Brian, but I've seen the heart way more. And I think that's the Brian that everybody's attracted to, and why there's a community growing the way that it's growing around that culture. You guys, it's an interesting thing to think about what Brian's saying when we're talking about quarantine and crisis, and who not just we're being, but who we have a chance to become through all of this. And I know some of you have some quarantine goals and things you're working on, but I'd maybe challenge you to think about, do you have any goals when it comes to heart? Do you have any goals when it comes to leading with love, or being heart driven, or increasing your empathy, or learning to build that muscle of putting yourself in other people's shoes, or, at the end of the day, just bringing the fundamental value of caring, I care genuinely, to the forefront of your intention and in conversation and in business. It's life, but in business, it doesn't change. And, Brian, one of the things I think the irony is, I think we all have that in us. I don't think we have to learn, right, to kind of get out of our head and into our heart. But I think maybe we have to unlearn a lot, because a lot of us have spent our life maybe building walls around what we think other people, want us to be, or what we should be. And
we're trying to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have been hurt. We've all had experiences where we've been let down. We've been hurt. We put our hopes on the shelf. We put our goals. We put our faith in other people. And I think one of the things that can help with that, you said one thing, is if we live in gratitude, fear goes away. Always be grateful for any situation. It happens for us, not to us. The second thing is like, let's just drop our expectations, and let's find it. And this is a muscle. Let's give to give, not give to get. And in business, that's tough. Like, I still check myself at the door all the time, Blake, and you and I have similar paths, and I can guarantee you that you can relate. We've never, I think, talked about this. I used to be the guy, because through my childhood, through athletics, I traveled the world before I was even in 8th grade on like all-star teams, and, went to East Berlin and Checkpoint Charlie. And I always played up, like in high school, like when I was 8th grade, I'd play in high school. So I always had to learn how to build rapport with people very quick. I went to 3 different high schools. And so when I got into business, I used to always think, have you all ever heard this, and you can see the comments, I can't, but that, it's business is about your connections. It's who you know, not what you know. Have you ever heard that?
Absolutely.
Just so everyone knows, that's fucking bullshit. That is the biggest bunch of bullshit that listen, focus on what you do know, be passionate about something, and you will find the people that you need to know. That's just my new perspective, because you got to understand, in the 90s and the 2000s, that's what I thought. And so I could walk in a room, and if I walked in a room, Blake, I would assess the room, like, who are the most influential people in the room, and I could connect with them. I did connect with them. But I always did it from a perspective of, so you know. So it was like, I want to connect with them based on what I could get out of them. It was like a hook. I didn't consciously think that, but subconsciously, that's what was making me move to them, right? And I'll never forget, it was just a switch. I think it was coming from like a Tony Robbins event. And I just started assessing the people that were in my life. And I just started asking myself, do I really like them? Do I like them for who they are, or do I like them for what I think that they can be in my business or in my life? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I'll never forget this. I had a business partner at the time. He was over I was over in Mexico, launching Mexico for a project I was working on. And he was working with me. And it was like Labor Day weekend. And he was in Destin, Florida on a boat with a guy that just sold his company for $200 million. And I was like, well, I wish you were here in Mexico with me. He goes, well, man, I wish I was too. I'm miserable. I'm on the boat. Everybody's drunk and they're partying. And he wasn't a big partier. I was like, well, why do you do it? He's like, well, man, he loves me. He's like, if I hang around him more, he's going to make us money one day. And he's like, and besides, like I get to drive his Ferrari every day and we're out on his yacht. And it was right around this time that I just got through with this event. And I remember talking to him and saying, I don't want to be on his yacht or drive his car. Like, let's go create our own yacht and have our own friends that we like. And the thing is that he was with that guy. Literally, he said it because this guy's going to make us money one day. And so I don't even know where this came from or in your question, but I think if people can work on just giving, for the mere fact of giving without an expectation, some of that fear goes away. And like, listen, if you give to someone and you give someone an opportunity, it doesn't work out, it's okay. Maybe they became better because you believed in them. And you give of yourself, not with the expectation in return. And I still have to check myself with that. We did an exercise with the kids just a few minutes ago. I don't know if you're checking Instagram. We, to practice this, like you're doing gratitude with your son. So we had them all do Happy Easter, like little signs and love signs and different things. And we went over to an assisted living home and a memory care unit. We can't go into it, but we posted it all on the windows of the lobby, and a bunch of the people were walking through and they were like, you could just see them light up and smile. So it was kind of neat, and so I think, those are things that I think we should foster out in the world is especially during this time, is like, what is an act of kindness that we can do, not because of what we're going to get back in return, but because of what we can do. And again, I'm rambling, but that's a tough one. That is a real tough one because you said this one time when we first talked, and I've said it, this language pattern has gotten in my brain because you said it, because it's what I believe too. And everyone's going to make mistakes. I'm the most imperfect leader you'll ever meet. I am fiery. I'm competitive. Listen, like failure is not an option. But Blake said something to me that resonated with me is intention matters. And that's what we're talking about, right? Intention truly matters. And I think that we should always self-assess our intention, and listen, sometimes we think we have the right intention, but when we really look at it, it's like, and I've done that. I don't know if you've ever caught yourself, but I know I have. And so I think that's a tool people could use just to, let that guard down a little bit more is, do it because you want to do it. Who cares what the results are, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm literally getting chills right now, just how aligned we are. It's just crazy how the world works. I was just having this exact conversation with one of my mentors on Sunday, so about a week ago. And I can go back a couple pages in my journal in front of me right now. And the giant lesson I wrote down was literally in my journal, give without expectation. And you and I haven't connected on that at all. But it is hard, guys. It's hard out there. And a lot of times we like to convince ourselves we're giving people. It doesn't count as giving if the only reason you're giving is to receive. It's receiving. And we lie to ourselves, right, by giving and doing this when we're getting something back. And it's easier said than done for all of us. But if we can all get to a place where you're giving not for what you will get, or you're giving not for the benefit you have, but you're giving truly because of the intention or care for what you're offering to somebody else, guys, that's the world we want to live in. And here's my belief. Maybe you don't get back, right, tick for tack, what you gave from that scenario. But if you just give with that expectation, guys, the world has a funny way of making sure you're taken care of and in a different way. And
nobody has to beat yourself up if you found yourself giving for, it's not that it's the wrong reason. It's just the ultimate definition of true joy and fulfillment is this true spirit of giving. And if you've ever given out of that true spirit, you know what it means. You know how it fills you up. And so I agree with you 1,000%. And don't beat yourself up. I mean, it's not a shame thing because we all do it. We all do it. Like it's part of human nature.
I love it. So let me go a different direction. There's kind of is dancing in all the theme of these conversations. Because a lot of this, what we're talking about is learning how to be yourself, right? Learning how to remove the guard that we put up to protect, getting to the core of who you are. Because I think at the core, we are heart driven. We do care. And I remember the first time I was walking through the Kentucky office and I saw your idea at the time of your podcast. And I was like, be you with be you. I instantly loved it. I was like, be you with be you. I was like, it's freaking great. And anybody that follows me knows that like my personal passion is trying to get people to pursue I call it they're meant to, right? And all I mean by they're meant to is like who they're meant to be, who they really are, not the supposed to we try to be. And I'm just so stoked that you got the podcast up and going last week. I know it's been a project for a while, fully launched, some great episodes. And if you guys haven't plugged in, you get it from the title of it, Be You, obviously with Be You, Brian Underwood. Brian, talk to me about what inspired it, right? Because I know this has been on your list for a long time. And then what made you do it, right, over the last couple of weeks at this point in time? I'd love to know.
Well, I've been doing this a lot lately. This is my hand sanitizer, by the way, but I have to have something to play with. I've been talking a lot about it. The reason I have is because I think it's appropriate. And I'm also trying to work on my skill of asking more, the power of the ask. My dad used to always tell me another life lesson. You never know unless you ask, right? And so I've been asking a lot of people to help support me, and I'm super proud that I've gotten a lot of support on it. We launched the podcast 2 weeks ago, and it's like Blake said, people told me I should really do social media really aggressively in 2008, 2009, 2010, and I didn't. I can make all these excuses of why I didn't, but the real reason why I didn't at a subconscious level was I was scared that I wouldn't be liked, or I was scared I wouldn't do it at a high level. And so I just didn't do it. Same way with the podcast. 3 years ago, I bought all this podcast equipment, spent not millions, thousands of dollars, like $3,000 or $4,000. Blake said, I did the same thing. And I literally just never got around to do it. And for me, I want to reinforce our message from a company perspective and a company level. And so whenever all of the quarantine started happening, which Blake can tell you, this was about 2.5 months ago. I told Blake, I was like, I don't think we can go to Italy. He's like, man, we got to go to Italy. I was like, I'm just telling you, I don't pay attention to the news. And I think he thought I was fibbing to him. I was like, Blake, I'm not trying to get out of this. I'm just telling you, everyone's telling me this is serious. And he's like, oh no. And then he talked to Nick, and Nick's like, well, I got to go. And like literally, so I was like, okay, well, let me see. And then I was like, guys, I just can't go. Everybody's telling me I can't go. And then 3 days later, they're like, oh yeah, this is getting bad. And then a week later, it was like, oh snap, it's like they're quarantined. And then I don't know why we didn't see that this was coming to the States, right? But Kentucky shut down. That's where I'm from. That's where I live. It shut down literally before any other state. Like, I mean, if you go look, Bashir, the Kentucky governor, I mean, he's been more aggressive than any governor in the 50 states. He's getting like all these accolades for it. But whenever it started, basketball, I like that. But whenever it started, boom. But whenever it started, I just said, I got to do some stuff that makes me uncomfortable. It's like, there's never a better time to do it. All right, let's do it. And one of the reasons I want to do it, because I do believe that this is a great time for us to sharpen our sword. And for me, it's like just-in-time training. We both have schedules that we can lock up 24 hours of the 24-hour day if we wanted to, and then still not get it all done. And for me, I think that it was about doing something that I was scared to do. So I made all these excuses not to do it. And we just sat down and I said, okay, I want to do one episode a day for 100 days. And then the team looked at me and they're like, that's a little aggressive. You haven't even done one. All the equipment's in there. Go do it, Brian. Like they're making fun of me. But we did. We've cranked out quite a few. And so we launched it. It's been in the top 10 in the US and Italy and Europe for the first 2 weeks. In entrepreneurship, it's been in the top 50 in business. And so I'm super proud of it. But the whole premise is just like what you said. It's 5 to 15 minutes to give people just a distinction. I always call it just in time. Like, have you ever heard something, Blake, or you watched something, or you've been to church and you're like, they were speaking to me. It was perfect. It was like, I don't believe there's any coincidences, right? And so for me, if we can give people just little snippets in 5 or 10 minutes that they can listen to really quick. You and I used to put cassettes in cars, and we used to drive the car and call it windshield time. Then I think it's I think it's perfect because there's enough content out there where you have to sit down and watch it for an hour or 2 hours. And I get a lot of great stuff out of podcast, but I don't ever listen to the whole thing. Like I get what I need in the first 10 minutes and I shut it off because I have this packed schedule. And so the whole premise of it is I would encourage people and challenge people to do something right now that takes courage, because it's going to take courage not only to get through this, but to thrive on the other side of it. Have courageous conversations, have conscious conversations, and do something to sharpen your sword. And for me, being on this podcast or being on this live right now, it helps me, right? Because I'm reminding myself of the things that I know, and know thyself, be thyself. You got to remember what you know and that you're enough. And then you have to constantly do, because if you're not doing, then it doesn't matter what you know, because if you don't do what you know, then you don't really know, if that makes sense. And so I'm proud. I appreciate you bringing that up, giving me a little plug. And then I've been asking people to support me to go rank it, because then I want to interview some cool people. But they always ask, well, how many ratings do you have? So I ask,
we can help.
So Kevin Hart, so we have Kevin Hart coming to an event that we're doing, which I think is really cool. And we keep pushing the event because of Corona. So I'm like, let's get him on, let's do a podcast with him, right? It's Kevin Hart. And his team was like, how long has the podcast been around? How many ratings does it have? And so it's fun though. It's fun.
I love it.
He's got to start his. He's got all of his equipment. Look at him. Right behind him, he has microphones and TVs.
You and I are so much alike. That's why I love it. I've subscribed. So guys, go check it out. It just got launched. So just if you search on iTunes, BU with BU. But in all sincerity, let's drive this thing to the top. The fact that it's already in top 50 is freaking awesome. But that means that we can push it even higher. So go subscribe, go leave a review, go share. But more importantly than all of that, plug into it. It's great, short distinctions. I've been getting value from it. I know you guys will. So definitely check that out. And congrats on getting it launched. And I think Brian just gave everybody on here a challenge. I heard a challenge, which is go do something that makes you uncomfortable. So guys, what is something that you can do? Maybe you've been putting off, maybe something right, that you should be doing right now that you can use this quarantine time as a blessing to move forward. If you're willing to make a distinction right now, leave a comment. Tell us right now publicly in the comments something you're going to do for the first time during this quarantine time that you're scared to do, but you should do. Would love to see that. Brian, let's go.
With the exception of breaking social distancing, you have to put the disclosure.
Following all of the legal laws and guidelines. Let's go a different direction. So this might be Pandora's box, but we got to do it. So you and I obviously have similar paths through the, call it direct sales, network marketing, multi-level marketing, affiliate marketing. I know you and I have aligned on the future as community-based marketing, and there's a distinction there. But 27 years for you, 20 years for me. We both kind of started all those separate companies, same channel, similar era, and we're kind of cut our teeth the same way. I'm curious, before we go into community-based marketing and what we're doing that's different, because I think that applies, and I think the future of where it needs to go is different. Looking at the channel, the industry, right, as it has existed up until this point, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it?
People. Next question.
People for both, love and hate. Elaborate, explain.
Isn't that the truth? I used to say that I love human beings and I hate people. I'm joking. No, it's people. The things that are the most beautiful things in the world are the relationships and the people, and the things that are the most frustrating and irritating and bring out the best in you are people, and the things that bring out the worst in you are people. So, it's the reality of it is that the human element and the human spirit is the only thing that will give us true fulfillment in the world. And that's what this business platform is 100% about. And, in order to transcend the market, in order to dispel some of the negative associations that people give network marketing or direct sales based on their experiences, is you have to give them a new experience based on a new nomenclature, which is language, based on, a new value. You have to drive a new value set to them. I read a book that was the first book that I ever read in my entrepreneurship journey or my home-based business. I think I saw you get up and go look for it when I was showing it.
I did. I was like, I have that on the shelf back there. I couldn't find it that quickly.
It was called Wave 3. It's in my other room. And every day what I'm doing is I'm pulling it out. I'm taking one excerpt in it, and I'm just doing a 3-minute training on it in the morning. And what's amazing is that how many of the fundamentals apply today, but how much more aware and the depth in which I understand what the book's talking about today than versus when I was 20 years old. And but one of the things it talked about today, and I just randomly open it up on a chapter, by the way. I don't like look through it and prepare. Like one of the things that I think I drive Blake crazy with is I prepare here a lot of times, but I don't like sit there and prepare like specifically. I kind of prepare my outcome and I drive to get it. It's the way I operate's a little bit different. But so I opened it up today and it literally said, I forget what it said, but it was talking about a new culture for network marketing, right? So it was talking about, and I think that you might remember it said
it started with like all about personal time and kind of quality of lifestyle, and then it went into like fulfillment and community. Something along those lines.
It talked about, because you gotta remember this is in the 90s. So in the 90s and the roaring 2000s, it was all about money, sales and money, right? But if you do that, you're only hitting 2 to 3 or 4% of the people, right? And what it said is there will be a culture shift in this industry. This is wave 3 for wave 3 companies. And that culture shift is going to be around understanding that the majority of people that will participate, it's going to be $300 to $500 a month people, right? However, they're participating because of what they're getting, the intangibles they're getting from it. And I think that it used the word personal liberty and fulfillment. Mm-hmm. I never used the word personal liberty, but I think that's to me what community-based marketing is. Community-based marketing fills the human needs that we have to fill our spirit, which is growth, contribution, love, and connection. And I think in today's world, you can't lead with just get rich, because there's a million ways to make $1 million, and there's more noise in the world than ever before. We're living in an environment of 100% distraction. This right here is the biggest distraction we have. I literally just got distracted because I was trying to pull up what I said today on our app, and the intangibles, right? The intangibles matter is what it said. The intangibles of this business model. This is in 93. The reality of it is I see so many people, they still don't get the intangibles until they get them. And once they get them, they'll never do anything else, or they'll always do this, if that makes sense. But like, a statistic that is a actual gathered statistic is that the average human being gets distracted 2.1 hours of their life with something like this. Now, here's the most crazy thing about it. This drives us so much is if Blake's focused on something and I ping him and jump on a call with him, he loses his focus on what he has that he's driving an outcome, right? Or he's contributing, or he's trying to finish something. After I distract him for 20 minutes, they say it takes an average of 20 minutes to get back on what you were originally focused on in the first place. So, I mean, just think about that in terms of, our attention today matters. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it all the time. Like we're looking for people's attention. The thing that I think we should do as a community, and the thing that this environment is bringing to us, is that we should become more aware of our attention and where we're putting our attention and intention, and hopefully we're doing it and putting it in things that can make a bigger impact. And I think the money will follow. And so I think that our focus from here moving forward is everything. Like what is our genuine focus? Focus on one thing, and that's what the great thinkers in the world have done. That's what the great accomplishers have done. All these books that talk about multiple streams of income, people take those out of context. They don't mean you can't go build 7 different companies at the same time. I mean, look, Elon Musk is having a tough time with it, and he has plenty of resources, have plenty of great teams leading those companies. But if you take a look at like the Kobe Bryants of the world, the reason he was world class at what he did was because he focused on one thing. and he didn't let anything distract him from that. And I think that if all of us would just, take heed to that and focus on something that gives us joy and that can leave a greater impact and cause us to tap into our greater potential, then everyone wins. And I promise you the money will follow. And so that's why I love community-based marketing, is because to build something to last, you have to have different temperaments, talents, and convictions, but sharing the same mission and the same values of doing something bigger for the world. Don't misunderstand me. Making money, there's nothing wrong with that. You have to have it to live, but if that is your only focus, is just where you can make money, you're going to become distracted very quick, and you're going to chase money and it will elude you. And so that's why I think community-based marketing, and we're coining that term because we want people to realize that the priority truly is people and community, and the priority is the intangibles. The money is icing on the cake.
I love the way you put that. You guys take note, write it down. What's the value of the intangibles? Right? Because we all know the value of the product or service. You buy something, you pay something, you get something, you got the benefit, you got the result, you quantify it. We know the value of the dollar. You do something, you get a dollar. We don't talk about the value of the intangibles. What's the value of a built-in mentor? What's the value of a community of people lifting you up? What's the value of examples every day of people showing you that it's possible? What's the value of positive reinforcement, right? Every single day of a peer group? What's the value of getting access and proximity to people that have done what you want to do? What's the value of all of that, right? That we don't talk about in a presentation or a conversation because we can't quantify it. You guys, I think that's maybe why community-based marketing at this point in time, I think is maybe accelerating, or at least we're seeing an acceleration, is because the intangibles are getting highlighted. The value of connection, the value of access, the value of positivity, because we're getting deprived elsewhere, is really starting to rise. So I love the way you put that. Let me ask you this, Brian. We'll shift gears and looking at time. Hey, you guys getting value? Let me check in. You guys liking this? You guys getting value from Brian? Give me some feedback in the comments below. Brian, let me switch gears and go some rapid fire. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, rapid fire, right? In as few words as you need to answer. First thing that comes to mind, gut reaction. Most impactful book you've ever read?
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Okay. Most interesting thing you've purchased during quarantine?
You're making me think.
First thing, most interesting quarantine purchase? Crustables.
Yeah, Crustables.
We like these, don't we?
Yeah.
No stealing your Uncrustables for your kids, man.
Right.
Come on. Okay, here's one. This one, we'll see what comes out on this. What's one thing that is 100% true of you that all of us out here probably won't believe?
I'm an introvert.
Okay. I like that. I'm an introvert. And I can see a lot of people.
There's probably a lot of things I can come up with, but an introvert, I would say.
I like it. Okay, let's go a couple deep questions, and then
I'm scared of snakes.
I hate snakes. I'm scared of stuff. I like it. Hey, for you guys watching out there, just for Brian and I to have our own amusement when we go back and read the comments and see the participation, answer that question. Actually, answer all 3 of them. Rapid fire. What's a book that's impacted you the most? Fire below. What's the most interesting thing you purchased during quarantine? Fire below. And I'm really curious how you're going to answer. What's one thing for all of you that's 100% true that nobody on the thread's going to believe? So take a minute, fire it in the comments. Brian, a couple more here. So let's go a different direction. So, I think you're familiar with kind of my mantra. I got invited to do a TED Talk a couple years ago, and I used that as an ability to share an idea that I'm personally passionate about, which is all about shifting perspective, or I call it kind of shifting the script or a storyline in our own mind. And that comes from my story, because my story was one where I was taught one script, right? One prescription, one set as opposed to, and I had to get myself over that shift, right? To go a different direction. So I'm passionate about trying to wake people up and get people to kind of shift the narrative in their own mind to become who they're meant to be. I'm curious for you, if you were to look back at what's maybe one of the largest beliefs you had to shift, right? Where you told yourself one thing or thought you were supposed to do one thing, that you had to shift and adopt a whole different belief for you to kind of get to where you are today?
I mean, the most elementary basic one is that I'm enough. I mean, I think that that's a shift that every single person that's watching this not only has to make, you got to constantly reinforce that you are enough. Whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, don't think you're not enough to achieve them. You're enough. That's, to me, the most basic fear that everyone has. And, you know, as I started stepping up as an entrepreneur and taking more responsibilities, you know, my biggest fear was I'm not enough, you know, and, you know, listen, I mean, when I, you know, became a father, my biggest fear is I'm not enough. And, you know, that's the shift you got to change. Is that's a very disempowering belief. And if you use that to let yourself off the hook, you're not going to ever be happy or fulfilled, because you're not going to tap into yourself. You're not going to tap into your gifts and your talents and everything that we already need to live the way that we want to live is already inside of us. So we put all those limits on ourselves, and I don't think that I'm any different than any other human being on earth. And I think that that is the most basic fear that everyone has. When you peel back the onion, why doesn't someone go for it? Like one of my mentors, you know, he has a speech out. In the speech, he says this, and it's actually the name of the speech. And, you know, he's addressing a big crowd of people. It's in the 80s. And he says, all you can do is all you can do. He said, all you can do is all you can do. All you can do is all you can do. But all you can do is enough. And I don't think many people get that. And I say that to myself more than, you know, I just say it even internally to myself, because the reality of it is we all have more inside of us, right? But what keeps someone from doing more, achieving more, growing more, contributing more? And it's the fear that they're not enough, that they can't handle it, that they can't carry the weight, that it's going to crush them. But the saying to me is all you can do is all you can do. The reality, that's his saying. And what he's wanting people to know is you're not doing all you can do, and it's okay. But if you do all you can do, it's enough. So the thing that we have to measure in ourselves, are we doing all we can do? And if we're not, what's holding us back? And I can guarantee you, when you peel back the onion, it's why didn't I do a podcast? I had a fear it wasn't going to be successful. That's my subconscious fear. I had a fear it wasn't going to be enough. People wouldn't want to listen to it. I would look like a failure. Blake would see it and be like, oh, nobody's downloading it, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that that's the fear, you know? And so my encouragement to anyone and everyone is just to know that you are enough. And if someone hasn't told you that today, you need to know that you're enough. You are far greater than anything that's ever happened to you or that's ever been done to you. Don't stay inside of a box just because you've been put in a box or been programmed to think that that box is safe. That's the only place that it's not safe. You know, you're the safest when you're growing and you're pushing limits and you're being who you were meant to be. And you were meant to be someone great. You were designed on this earth to be the head and not the tail. You were designed on earth to be, you know, you were designed to be the alpha. You were designed to be above and not beneath. I mean, that's the way we were designed. We were designed to be powerful beyond measure. We all have this untapped potential, and that little fear of not being enough scares the shit out of every one of us. And so it's not something that will ever go away. It's just hopefully through programming and forward momentum and keeping the guard of our mind, that, you know, we use it as our fuel and not something to let us off the hook. So that would be my biggest fear.
I love it. And I think there's gonna be a lot of people that just watch that, heard that, or catch the replay that are writing down, I am enough, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys will take that as probably one of the biggest nuggets from today's conversation. And I think that could be one of the biggest distinctions that we all can take. And remind ourselves of that every morning, every day, every night, that every one of us is enough. All we can do is all we can do, and all we can do is enough. Brian, before I get some closing thoughts from you, I know I'm coming up on the hour that I requested. You guys, a couple shout outs out there. If you're not connected with Brian, get connected. Bryan Undy on Instagram. So just BRIANUNDY, Bryan Undy on Instagram. Just Bryan Underwood. Find him on Facebook. I tagged him in this post. Obviously, iTunes, go search iTunes immediately when we get off. Be You with Be You. Subscribe. Leave a comment after you've listened to a couple of them, or review. Share it. Let's drive that thing to the top. Definitely an amazing mind, an amazing entrepreneur, but more so after this conversation, hopefully, you know, just an amazing heart, an amazing individual. that's on a mission right now to make people better in everything he does. And I can tell you the person that you're seeing on this live is the person that I see every day that I get to work with. And that's why I'm aligned. That's why everything that myself and Nick and the community that we've spent our life career building is now all focused on the direction to get behind Brian, the mission, and to build a movement that can make an impact. Because I believe with this team, guys, we can make a massive impact. So hopefully you're seeing and feeling the same thing I saw and felt when I first had these conversations with Brian, and hopefully you'll lock arms with us in some way, shape, or form and help us be a part of that movement. Brian, before we round out, any closing thoughts you want to leave with everybody out here? Anything else on your mind we didn't cover? Any closing words from you?
I appreciate you. I don't believe there's any coincidences in life. And I think, that's inspiring what you just said. I agree with you. I think that the right people come in your life at the right times, and, rising tide lifts all ships. And this is, I think, so important for everyone to hear. And that is that, you've heard the saying, you're only as good as your weakest link, so to speak. But I think that what's so important is that no one has ever achieved greatness alone. No one has ever achieved greatness by themselves. Period. End of statement. Whether they're too arrogant to admit it or not, a turtle doesn't get to the top of a fence post by itself. And so we need great people, so we can do more, and so we can impact more, and so we can all achieve more and experience more and contribute more. And that's that's why I'm so excited about working with Blake. They say every great leader can be led. I was at a conference one time in 2001, and I heard this speaker speaking, and he goes, every great leader can be led. And, and I'm just super excited about Blake leading me each and every day. And for some of you that are watching, listen, plug into what we're doing or plug into our community. We just love to have your support, even if it's at a level just to reinforce, the direction that the company's doing. And we're getting ready to go on a bike ride, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say to people? So we have a thing. So like our company, if you don't know our company's name is Pruvit. And the whole Pruvit. So whatever your goal is, whatever your dream is, it's your it. But to prove it is how you inspire other people. To prove it means demonstrating that it's real. So what do we do? Every day, what do? We prove it.
I love it. Well, you guys enjoy your bike ride. Brian, thank you so much for the time, the nuggets. For everyone out there, thank you guys for plugging in. Most importantly, stay safe, stay healthy, and let's not continue just to go through this. Let's get better together as we grow through this. Hope all of you guys have an amazing day. Thank you, Brian, for your time.
Appreciate you guys. Talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Be safe.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live, and I want to celebrate by giving away $500 cash to 5 lucky winners over the first 5 weeks. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. So to enter the giveaway, follow 3 simple steps. Step 1, simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. Step 2, find this giveaway video post on my Instagram @BlakeMallon or my Facebook or LinkedIn profile and share it to your Instagram story or your Facebook and LinkedIn profile. When all done, simply comment "alive" and tag 3 friends on that same post. Weekly winners will be chosen randomly and announced publicly on my Instagram and Facebook story each of the first 5 Saturdays after launch. Would really appreciate your support, so if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.